Hello, this is Chef Nimish Bhatia here, and we are doing a recipe which is a traditional recipe which was done probably by grandmothers in Punjab when it was Undivided India. And this is called a Doda bread, which is made of maize flour. We will divide this whole recipe into three parts. The first part is I assemble things. So I will make a dough of the maize flour. The second part would be I would make two toppings for this as a bruschetta. One would be a cucumber and yogurt, and another would be an pepper tartar. And the third part would be I will stabilize some lemon foam. What I have done to save time is I have diluted soya lecithin with lemon juice so that whenever I can make a foam and it settles there. We take a bowl and we take some maize flour, makki ka atta as it is known in Hindi. This is a little coarse ground atta where we want the textures of this doda bread whilst we eat that, and it should follow. I will take some ajwain. So there's some ajwain added. I will use some rock salt. Rock salt is a better seasoning than iodized salt, and it remains in the palate. So that's where I have chosen this. And I will use the radish. What I will do is I will first squeeze the water out of radish so that it remains to make this doda bread. I will also use small amount of vada. And I will use ginger, which I have cleaned and chopped for convenience of making recipe a little faster. And I have some coriander here. Coriander gives a lot of freshness whilst we cook this cake and we have a bite. There is some green leaf that will add flavors. And I have onions. Onions will not get fully cooked, so it will have a crunch in that bread along with the radish which we've grated. And I will use green chili. Green chili is an integral part. I don't intend to use any other spice here apart from salt. So the green chili will add a lot of relish, will add a lot of taste, and it will be a tongue scorcher. I also use a little bit of white salt because the rock salt may not be enough. I just make a dry dough, a quick dough. I'll have to use a little more water. Okay. So I take a little more water for this dough to get settled, and I don't need to make a wet dough. It just needs to be crumble dough. And I would recommend whenever somebody is doing this, the dough should be done just fresh, because this dough, if it is done about an hour and a half, it dies and it start getting a little bitterness in the taste because of this being the maize. My dough is done. I will just see the seasoning part of it. I think it lacks a little bit of salt and also a little bit of onion more, and ginger and the green chili. All right. So this dough is, as it is done, we will rest this dough for 5 minutes, and we will do a preparation for its topping. We will make cucumber and yogurt, and it is like a tzatziki. It's very refreshing. I will use little grease here so that this can rest. It is not actually very necessary to have a fat or grease. Let me just try this. It is very nice. So I have this here. My second job is to do a cucumber tzatziki. I have not removed the water out of this cucumber to have the freshness. It takes some mint, which I have already washed and chopped. I also take some dill. Dill is also soya leaf, and I use yogurt. What I've done is I've removed the whey so that it is not very runny, and I will use a little bit of salt. So it needs to be a little mixed well, because yogurt is more of a binding agent and cucumber will give it freshness. Whilst we have that, I will just see the seasoning. That's fantastic. So this is my first topping. Now what we would do is we will do pepper tartar. I have got dried mangoes which I have mixed with a little bit of sugar, and I will caramelize them so that it tastes very good with a little savory, bitter maize flour with onions and green chili, a cucumber giving its freshness. Since I'm talking about a tartar, so I would use some chilies into this, and once this becomes little soft, I will use some olive oil, I will use some coriander, and I will also use some green chili. So this will settle my third part of it. A little oil. I don't need to cook this, I just need to heat this so that it is not hard to the palate, still retains the moisture and natural sugar of its own. So we have this already done, it's just that oil needed to catch in this, and I will remove this in a bowl. As we remove this in a bowl, you see it gets a very nice color, and I will again use some green chili. I will use some coriander. I will use little onion, and I will use little salt. I will add oil here so that it remains till the time we need to garnish it, and I will also squeeze in some lemon juice. Lemon juice will give it a tang. Just see that it comes to a nicer texture. So we have this aam papad tartar also done. So these are three basic components as I spoke about the recipe. So as you saw, this dough was done. I'm going to get this done on a pan. I will use a very little fat here so that it does not stick. Okay, and I will use a mold so that the doda comes right. It looks also good. It is very important that what it tastes good, it should look good also. And so I do my